Our red Terran player is MarineLorD.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Zerg player. It is going to be Lambo. On team, no team. Literally, that's the clan tag.
I mean, I love the fact that MarineLorD's on Coca's team. Team Cap.
I know.
It's, you know, you mentioned it the other day, right? All the caster teams and that being something where players weren't winning.
Yeah, look, all I'm saying is that would Rail have beaten Serral if he wasn't on Team Wardy, right? That's all I'm asking.
Team Wardy. Yeah. I mean, we'll never know for your Dragon unless he leaves the team and then he plays against Serral next season, I guess.
Okay, if MarineLorD loses this series versus Lambo, I'm going to call the caster curse on caster teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caster teams that get casted on the mainstream, right?
That get casted on the mainstream. It doubles up. It's like it multiplies its power exponentially.
Amazing. Well, I hope for MarineLorD it's not like that though, because I feel like he's good enough to not be like, wow, look at Lambo, by the way, scouts to the middle of the map.
I know. This is, I feel like, super rare to see a Zerg player sending out a drone this early on for this long just to scout for the proxies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just one of those positions that you can't realistically send an Overlord to, and yet it's probably pretty likely that MarineLorD proxies in. This is one of those games as well where if MarineLorD comes out of this game and like you do a quick rewind maybe to the start just to roughly see how your opponent opened, and he sees like Lambo scan to the middle of the map, he's like, wow, you're scared of me proxying. And then you just don't proxy the next couple of games, right? And then, you know, Lambo may continue to be scared. So yeah, I like it from Lambo though, because I think it's also him saying, you know, I'm a stronger player here, and if this goes macro, I've got this. I just don't want to lose a silly game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit scary though, right? Because obviously the mech style is, in a sense, like those longer term games and everything. So maybe Lambo feels a little bit more comfortable against that. And I know we've talked a lot about how MarineLorD going mech versus Serral almost ends up working. But if you remember, MarineLorD also did play game number 2 very biocentric and kind of just having the tank marine pushes and the parade push across the map. And it almost got Serral in that game number 2. So I feel like I'm with you that MarineLorD is very capable of playing that bio style as well. And I do wonder if he's just going to be able to put on some really nice pressure in kind of the mid-game stage. But we'll see. He's adding on that 3rd CC for now, and we don't quite know just yet what he's going to be going into.
Yeah, for sure. After 3CC, there's obviously a bunch of options. You can go like Hellion Viking. You can go into just very fast stim. You can also just go into a battle cruiser still, right? That is still an option. It's not the fastest battle cruiser. Okay, this is going to be very fast racks from MarineLorD as a follow-up. So he's just going to go straight to bio, which I honestly kind of like. This is going to be like a 2-1-1 just off a 3CC.
Okay. Well, in the meanwhile, Lambo is just going to be getting up that lair, kind of playing it safe, pushing back the Reaper, getting up your 3rd base, all that good stuff. So Golden Wall, I mean, we kind of talked about this in the last series about how there's the north side of the map and the south side of the map. But we didn't really see a whole lot of the south side of the map. But how do you feel about, you know, expansion paths and TVZ on this map, and when you should mine out those minerals on the south side of your main base and expand there versus just staying on the north side?
Yeah, it's funky, isn't it? Because there's not really much to push on the bottom side unless you get like a siege up on your opponent's like minerals into their main. And that kind of depends on how you're opening. Like if you've got some tanks, that can always be good. You don't necessarily even need to mine out minerals for that though, because you can kind of just go, okay, like, you know, I'll just make my way down there. It's kind of tough to take the bottom side because I feel like with Terra, if you take the bottom side, you immediately open up more options for the Zerg to counterattack in, right? Whereas if you just play the top side, you can kind of just play the middle of the map, and that holds most of where the Zerg can come from. So I do expect MarineLorD just to kind of play the top side, probably gold base for the 3rd, most likely. And he might even just 8 racks all in off that. Generally, these players do just like to continue playing the top side because then the Terran can defend their bases while pushing the Zerg bases. And it's only really when you kind of mine out this entire top side where the bottom side really becomes a feature of this map.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I was thinking even just about like Lambo trying to expand to the south side, but I know that can also be a little bit tough, especially when medevac drops or any of that kind of stuff starts getting involved.
Creep spread as well, right? It's just a whole different avenue to spread your creep on. somewhere you don't really think about too much. It's going to be slow. And then you really are getting really heavily spread out, because if your opponent goes to the bottom side and they're also dropping the top side, your whole army basically runs through the main base to the bottom, right? And then you're only engaging in from one direction out of a natural choke point, basically. So it's very difficult to then take the fights you'd want to on that bottom side of the map. So that's why Zergs kind of avoid it until a little bit of a later stage as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, we are going to see MarineLorD kind of starting to set up some multi-prog aggression. The Hellions going to be poking in at the front, and the double medevac making its way to the south side, kind of that 2-1-1-esque setup you were talking about. But a few mutas are on the way. They're not going to be here in time for the drop, but if enough of these Marines start getting cleaned up, the Mutalisks are going to be able to chase down those medevacs. So MarineLorD going to have to be very careful with how he controls this. But it's purely Lings over here. There's only 6 Banelings on the ramp right now, but they are not here in time.
Fantastic start. 6 drones already going down. He's going to chase that queen as well. Drone's still running. I mean, the Spy are in trouble. Not sure why the Banes are taking so long to move into position. And now MarineLorD just lifts up and gets out of there. But the Hellions on the third base as well, they're maybe not doing as much as they should be, right? They could have maybe gotten more drones than targeting down the queen. But honestly, fantastic start. You get 8 workers like that, and that's going to push you, especially when you're taking a gold base. It's going to give you a huge eco lead. He's already up in workers, now on gold base economy. That's a supply block overlord loss. Lambo just started making new overlords. This is not where Lambo wants to be right now.
No, absolutely not. And this is not one of those Terran pushes where the 3rd and 4th medevacs immediately just moved across the map to join forces. A lot of the Marines are actually just sitting over at this gold base. They are a little bit slow to stim there, so a few SCVs do get picked off, but MarineLorD has enough Marines back at home to defend against the Mutalisk counterattack. I don't think he's too worried about that.
Yeah, these mutas shouldn't really be able to do much at all, so you can keep the medevacs on the map being annoying. Oh, he just moved the Marines away. That said, it's not a huge muta count just yet.
Yeah. Nice focus fire. Almost gets down one of those Mutalisks. Doesn't quite end up killing it, though. And, yeah, just not only +1 fire attacks, just a lot more mutas being made right now. So it really does seem like Lambo wants a hard commit to this Mutaling Bane style. And Lambo is going to get flanked by these Marines that are on the retreat right now, because they are going to be moving straight in the direction of these mutas.
I love it. He's trying to hide them as well. He's trying to, MarineLorD's trying to make Lambo forget that these Marines are down here. And if you just pick off a couple more mutas, right, it really takes away the power of them. Look how late Lambo's 4th is, considering MarineLorD's been on the gold for a good little while now. I think one thing that's very worth mentioning, though, is that MarineLorD's not rushing to just 8 racks all in. He is building a second factory. That's typically, he's building mines. Usually if you 8 racks, it's off, siege tanks. So this is looking like he just wants to play like a longer game where he goes up to 4 bases in the near future and goes from there. Just a great start from MarineLorD. Love where he's at, and you can just even see Lambo just struggling to find real openings with these mutas. I guess this SCV gets trapped, and that's an easy pick, but yeah, missile turret's already here. He's actually going to lose a Mutalisk, and that's already Marines in the main to help turn around the others.
Well, the mutas are still trying to find bits and pieces of damage, and they do find a few more SCVs on the way out, but I think 1 or 2 of the mutas does end up going down. On the right-hand side of the map, MarineLorD is loading up those Marines into the medevac, looking for another angle that he can actually drop in from, but there's just so many Lings and even just a few mutas in the mix in that main base. I'm not sure this is going to get a whole lot done. There are Banelings here as well. Yeah, I think these medevacs are both going to end up falling, or at least one of them will.
Yeah, he'll try to unload. If he gets a Mutalisk for this is great. If he gets 2, even better. I mean, he's just going to leave these Marines stranded down there for the moment, which is fine. They'll go down eventually, or maybe they get rescued. I want to say nice cleanup for Lambo, but honestly, it was expensive, right? You lose 2 Mutalisks for that. And then remove some of the threat on the map, but again, MarineLorD's not really needing it anymore. He's well on his way to 2-2. This first 2-2 push, even though he is going into a 4th base and kind of a future in this game, the first 2-2 push could just get a lot done. It's the sort of thing where, with the start that MarineLorD has had, he could just like accidentally win the game while macroing, right? It's hard to do against a Ling Bane kind of composition. Ling Bane's very good at holding on. But if that first fight isn't quite good enough for Lambo, it could absolutely just be MarineLorD continuing to roll through this.
Absolutely. One thing I do like about Lambo's situation is the fact that these mutas have kept a lot of MarineLorD's attention at home, and even the drops that MarineLorD has gone for, they've been in the main base. A lot of that pressure has not been at the front line. So that means there is actually a lot of creep strike protecting most of the bases outside the one that it looks like MarineLorD is going to be able to get a snipe off on right now over here on the north side, but he still has to work his way through a bit of this creep before he gets on top of the bases. So Lambo trying to buy some more time, getting some counter damage done with the mutas. Got to be careful with the Thor, but here we go. He's starting to move in with all the Lings and these Banelings. A nice attempt to split up over here from MarineLorD, but I think he just does not have enough. He might have to pick up and get out of here.
But I don't mind it, right? It's a good trade. You lose a lot. The mutas took a lot of damage across the map because Lambo's trying to control those and control elsewhere. The mutas aren't here to stop you from picking up, which is one of the big benefits of MarineLorD. You're guaranteed to get out alive because the mutas are on the bottom side of your base. So it worked out okay. He saved a lot of these Marines, and now he's pushing with a 20 army supply lead, 2-2 upgrades, only just start for Lambo. That advantage for MarineLorD is massive as he comes through the center again. I'm continuing to be a little worried for Lambo here, although he does have a bit of a Ling Bane flank coming from the top.
Well, that Ling Bane flank can actually make some real big miracles happen over here. But look at that. MarineLorD is actually darting further to the south side, going up this ramp. So that flank is going to be somewhat invalidated. And the Thor also just making it so difficult for these mutas to dive in, to get any real damage done to stray Marines or even just any medevacs that are too far forward.
It's the dream position being down there. He moves up a little bit now, and he does kind of catch some of those units ahead of time. It's going to be from left, right, and top, but he already kills the Banes on the top, so he has somewhere to split back to. Off creep, it means he can just split for days against those Banelings. There's another round coming in as he continues to trade out. MarineLorD will lose his final few Marines, but he gets all the medevacts out there before any of the mutas can target them down. Again, all of those Banes went down, and that's very expensive for Lambo. As he tries to make his way up to Hive, he's still adding on more Mutalisks. He's very much so stuck on this Ling Bane muta comp, and yes, the Hive's on the way, but this will still be 3-3, another big push or two before there's realistically ultras on the map to help Lambo out.
And the big tech switch over here from MarineLorD is adding in a ton of Widow Mines. I mean, he's up to 12 Widow Mines all of a sudden, and we haven't really seen almost any Widow Mines before this. So now suddenly these mutas have got to be really careful. Even with the Overseer, you have to be so cautious whenever you move them around in enemy territory. And we're starting to see the MarineLorD beginning another round 2 of this push out. And I believe he's got a bunch of his Widow Mines with him. So we'll see where MarineLorD is going to be able to set up. This is the big open area in the middle of the map. This is probably the kind of area where Lambo wants to engage, but I think he might be waiting for the creep.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. The creep is so good in this kind of scenario. All right, now the bio continue to move through the Banes, connecting a little bit. Couple Widow Mines going off. Trader Mines hitting a lot of the medevacs. I mean, it's a nice position for MarineLorD. It's somewhere you can set up. You can slowly trail units in. Forces Lambo to essentially fight off creep, and Widow Mines helping a lot to start. The mutas are just targeted by the Marines because they didn't have to worry about Banelings for so long.
Oh my god, the Widow Mines killing all the Banelings really made it look like MarineLorD was going to be able to maybe triumph over there, but now we end up seeing that not only does Lambo actually manage to push back the army, he gets a snipe off on a few of those medevacs, and is now finally actually leading up a little bit in supply, protected that base for a little bit, now needs a bit more time to morph into more Banelings. There are 42 Lings out right now, but 0 Banelings here to try and push back these Marines. The Marine count's pretty low, so maybe Lambo is going to be able to hold on with just those Lings.
Marines step forward again. A lot of Lings going down. The mutas have to escape over the right side and just going to be seeing no Banelings ready. That's the big issue. If you don't have Banelings ready for a fight like this, you're in trouble because you just can't engage without them. There's honestly only 4 here. Somehow he gets really good connections, and the mutas are right on top of the medevacs to chase and kill, but they fly over Widow Mines. They're such low HP.
Oh my god, one more Widow Mine is going to go off. It hits the Lings instead of the mutas though. Oh man, so many mutas just went down right there. Really nicely done by MarineLorD to start to equalize that game after what was a really scary spot. And he does have another army moving forward. Once again, there are only a few Banelings over here. If MarineLorD can handle just that number of Banelings right now, he might be able to situate himself up in range of that hatchery again. But it looks like, those Banelings you can manage to connect, and the Widow Mines get a lot of them.
It's rough as we see MarineLorD will try and keep up this pressure. Lambo just has this right side of the map, and while he doesn't have much creep in front of his bases, he's got the creep to a point where he can kind of, you know, at least he's on creep until the point of engagement, right? So it's only like the very end moments where the splits can happen off creep. Nice position up here. He's going to deal with this. And MarineLorD was doing great. It was just that one fight where the medevacs all of a sudden got picked off while trying to escape with those Marines. If it wasn't for that, I actually think MarineLorD might have broken through at some point. But no, Lambo, fantastic job holding on. He is trying to transition now. You know, he feels as though he's made himself safe enough that he can actually add adrenal glands, add +3 carapace. An Ultraless Cavern would typically be next as well. He just doesn't feel safe enough for that yet. So sticking on the lane Bane meter just that little bit longer.
Yeah, it's been one of those situations too where you kind of were talking about, you know, adding on +3 and adding on adrenal glands and everything. Lambo has been fighting with 2-2 versus 3-3 for a while now. And it's only really during the 6 minutes of pressure that Lambo was saying I couldn't really do it, but now you've given me a minute where I can finally breathe. So he's able to add on all those upgrades. He's able to start getting all of his bases properly saturated and finally start putting a little bit of counter pressure on with that attack getting geared up on the north side of the map. And he's also dealing pretty decently well with the drop. Ends up losing a Muto too there.
I mean, the top left is set up. It's not, you can see how Lambo is kind of feeling better in this game now because he's setting up run buys, right? That's something he didn't feel safe enough to do before. He even pulled his run buys back to try and help with fights. Unfortunately, this was found by MarineLorD and chased down for quite a few Baneling kills. I mean, that's a lot of Banes getting picked off there. Obviously, this leads MarineLorD into position on top of that base once more, so kind of just where he wants to be. There's a good few moments for him, but there's such a terrifying amount of Zerg out right now. You've got to be so careful with these engagements. You need those Widow Mines to connect.
Oh man, the big flank coming in from Lambo from 3 different angles is going to be running on in. A lot of the Widow Mines are connecting, but it's actually connecting on the bio, and it is an absolute massacre, Wardy. The entire Bioforce, the entire army for MarineLorD is decimated here in the center.
What are those Widow Mines doing? They were unburrowed or running forward. They all got blown up. I think actually only 2 Widow Mines went off, and they both traded. The Terran play at that as well. MarineLorD is I mean, this is MarineLorD right now up on upgrades. Imagine when 3-3 kicks off the Lambo. We might not even get there. He's just going to dive on it. The Middleist should chase those medevacs. Has to be careful. Widow Mines. Widow Mines still. It's just not good enough as the Ling Bane continues forward, and he will keep crashing through this army. Maybe a couple extra Widow Mines to help at the end. The splits are as good as they can realistically be, but Lambo will just continue the onslaught, continue to chase. Not a single Marine will be spared in this fight. Camping reinforcements, and this is really, really tough for MarineLorD to work his way out of now.
Yeah, oh god, now the SCVs are finally getting taken out by the Lings, and the Widow Mines also still friendly firing. This is starting to become the point of no return here as Lambo sets up 80 or so supply. Even if Lambo has to back off for some reason, for some way, MarineLorD manages to hold on. It is still a brutal spot for MarineLorD to try and come back from. He does still have those bases in the top left and everything, but Lambo now has 3-3. Lambo has 7 Ultras about to finish up, and Chitin is plating all the way. Wardy, I don't know that Lambo's going to be easy to just take this game away from now.
The Ultras are the deal breaker, right? Because this is still Ling Bane. Maybe he finds like a crazy fight, he drops a bit or something like that. With the Ultras, you just don't have a force that stands up to Ultras. So these Ultras can kind of run in, be a bit crazy. You know, they don't have to be like babysat or anything. You can just run this at the Terran, and you've got the economy to do that again and again right now and realistically make a good job of it. The Widow Mines have an okay time at the start of this. The Ultras aren't even going to reach this bio army before MarineLorD is gone. GG, Lambo picks up game number 1.
Really well done there by Lambo. I got a tiny bit afraid during the kind of mid-game pushes and everything, but overall, I think he did an excellent job of holding on and carrying on through to a victory.
I mean, a stellar job considering his early game was pretty rough. You know, he lost a lot there. Like I said, at some point during the game, there was a point where Lambo wanted to counterattack, but he didn't feel like he could because he had to throw everything at the Terran army. Usually you see the Zergs dealing with the Terran army, counterattacking at the same time, and that's how they stay in the game, right? The counterattacks take down enough SCVs so that the army doesn't build up as much. But in this game, he couldn't throw those counterattacks, so he had to have some great engagements, and it really was that one where all the medevacs ended up going down. He couldn't retreat with anything, and that was the breaking point. And at that point, Lambo just full throttle away across the map and never really let MarineLorD have a chance to get back.
Absolutely. But Wardy, I cannot wait to have Zombie Grub ask us for our thoughts on that game. So we'll see you guys in just a little bit. We're going to go to a short break before we get our... Actually, no, sorry. Well, oh my God, I'm so silly.
Game number 1. Did you just think Lambo won that game so hard? It was a 2-0?
Wow. You know, it was a long and very eventful game. So I got a little bit... I was like, that was game 2, right? But no, that was just game 1 because I felt like there was just so many different stages for the aggression. But yeah, it looks like we're heading on to Pillars of Gold, from Golden Wall to Pillars of Gold. Wardy, what are your thoughts on the naming meta for maps?
It's stale, isn't it? Quite frankly, you got Golden Wall, you've got Pillars of Gold, you've got Internal Empire. It's all very grandiose. Where's my like,
Okay. So
back
40.
alley? I don't know, back alley
We get-
waste yard.
The new meta is actually, instead of having mineral patches that create walls, we create rich Vespian gas geysers, so we can say purple wall. Pillars
You better
of
go in
purple.
game before Fear Dragon goes off on one. You know, we need it. We need to get into this, right? Okay, Fear Dragon, are you settled down? Are you good to give us
right.
the intro?
I am so ready for this. We're gonna be starting over here in the top right-hand side of the map, top of the blue Zerg player. Put your hands together for Lambo.
And in the bottom left, has a great start to the last game, but needs to follow up in the mid game. It's MarineLorD.
Do you know what the logo is for Poka's team? That golden egg? Or is it actually just a piece of gold? Is the gold meta just overtaking everything now?
I don't know actually. It looked like a golden nugget to me.
I think it is a golden nugget, which really does just reinforce we have too much gold in StarCraft right now.
Yeah, I don't actually know what Coca's team name means. So maybe that would give us some clues if we're able to speak French, but unfortunately I'm not talented in that way, Fear Dragon.
I am afraid to even try and say it because it is in French and will just look silly.
I mean, I can say like Je m'appelle Wardy and then be like StarCraft. Yeah, cool. You know, thumbs up. That's about as far as I get.
Poka Antique Pepite. Something like that.
It sounds beautiful.
It sounds correct, and that's all that really matters. So, I mean, obviously that last game, Golden Wall, we were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned it before, but like that game, that kind of map can start to make you play a little bit differently, but we didn't end up seeing the south side of the map really utilized at all in either that series or the previous series. So I kind of feel like we just got a sense of like what a normal game between these two will look like if MarineLorD decides to go for bio again. Do you think we're going to be seeing that though?
The only thing, just to quickly touch on that point, is that MarineLorD does obviously have a gold base in the last map, so it might look a little different if it is bio. You know what? It's kind of an interesting map in general because it's very open on the third base, right? So it's kind of like Zerg heaven for like running Lings in. This is honestly a map I thought was going to be vetoed more by Terrans and Protoss against Zerg, going into best of threes and so on. It is for me kind of a surprise to see this year over like, you know, obviously I actually forget what MarineLorD vetoed, but yeah, it's definitely not the super norm as he opens with these Marines. He's going to catch an Overlord early, Fear Dragon. So he's going to get a kill there.
Yeah, really nice pick off. Now, it is worth noting that Lambo also ended up nearly losing the third base drone, which was sitting over the third, and the Reaper was heading over in that direction, but Lambo managed to pull it away in time. He's going to be able to safely secure that without having any kind of major delays over here. I think MarineLorD doesn't even... I think MarineLorD actually believes he's keeping an eye on that ramp and seeing that there's no drone coming out, and in a second he's going to rally back and say, oh, I guess the drone did sneak out there at some point.
Yeah, I guess that third hatchery down, which is great, of course. No real issue. Overlord speed, again, there's something Lambo didn't really do last time, right? So he's going to get full info right away. Really maybe a bit afraid of what MarineLorD switches it up with this time. It's not really... Starport's about to finish, so I think if we see mech, we're generally going to see it off the back of a battle cruiser, so it's now or never on the fusion core, but doesn't really have the money right away. This more so feels like Hellion Liberator to start. There is that
Good
Liberator
call.
starting up, so it's just going to be, yeah, Hellion Liberator into bio typically, and it will just be that bio. Yeah, I don't think the map pool really just works for mech. Like, I feel like there's a couple maps you want to play mech on, Ice and Chrome, Eternal Empire sometimes, even though it's a good bio map. I just don't think Pillars of Gold is really that map because I feel like mech struggles with those open third bases to, again, just kind of to answer your question in the end, I guess. Just mech struggles with those open third bases a bit more than bio does.
Yeah, absolutely. If you cannot establish a third base nice and easily, which is around that time that you often are getting up all out of your production and you're actually sometimes at your most vulnerable, then yeah, it can be doom and disaster if you try and go for mech too quickly on that. So I do like that, and I do like the decision to just get up, like you were saying, like Hellions, so Liberator, put on a little bit of early pressure, and then possibly
Double
just transition
Liberator.
into that bio. Yeah.
Oh, double Liberator into 2 more gases. It might be mech, you know? He never started stim. So this is just a very different way of getting to mech in the end. All right, MarineLorD really throwing some curveballs out here. It's very harassment heavy, right? So you're really hoping to slow Lambo down. Thing is, Lambo comes and he sees this. He'll see that Rax is still not starting stim pack. And that's obviously huge because in any build order right now where the starport isn't researching cloak, you'd have stim on the way. So that's pretty much confirmation for Lambo that this is indeed going to be mech. So mech it will be. So we'll have to be a bit careful of those, not just the third base, right? But it's kind of a choice which third you take, which means your fourth is the other third. So it's also kind of open. So you do want to be cautious of that and the entryways to it for the counters. I mean, Lambo for the moment going to go melee upgrades because it's such an orthodox way in the current meta of going mech. It's going to be interesting to see how Lambo adapts to it because we have seen kind of like Mutaling Bane versus mech to establish bases and then to kind of, you know, lock the Terran down. But this is also kind of an off-meta build from Lambo in the sense that it's double Evo first. It's not unheard of, but it isn't that faster lair for the faster Spire. So really interested if he does then end up going for the Spire, especially with no BCs in play. Yeah, just really crazy. You could just play maybe Lingbane Hydra against it for a while. It's really weird because it's just kind of a weird mix of build orders right now.
Oh, looks like MarineLorD may be finding an opportunity to sneak on forward. Does manage to roast and toast a few of these drones, but now he's going to get caught by the Lings and now has to stay in that mineral line. In a sense, he's trapped, but who's trapped in there with who? The Lings getting roasted and toasted behind that mineral line. The Queen's getting a lot of damage onto those Hellions, but I think it is buying time for the other Liberator actually siege up into a different position, potentially going to get some more workers, and it does actually, with one Hellion chasing a massive line of drones.
Oh. Splits at the end, but everything still lows that one Hellion. I know this Liberator is killing everything, but this one Hellion has been on a mission. He does go down, but he really added some extra kills to that in the end. That's the damage you're looking for as MarineLorD, right? You go double Liberator, you kind of need some damage for that investment early, and he gets it. Lots of lost mining time, lots of drones killed. He took his third base behind it with the 0 counterattacks happening. Yeah, I love it.
I was going to ask if the 12 drones you felt like was worth it for 2 Liberators and 8 Hellions, because that is a pretty big investment, right? I mean, he does still have a lot of the Hellions behind this. So I don't think he's worried about a big Ling counterattack or anything, but the Liberators, you kind of usually expect them to die, right?
Yeah. Man, he's making 2 more. Like, he really likes this lib harassment. It's very cool because there's no Spire in play, right? And this is one of the reasons you usually kind of cut lib play. But if there's no Spire in play and he feels like this is just a good map where, and it is a good map where all the mineral lines are very accessible to Liberators. You know, even getting to the natural mineral line from the top side of the map, you can get there quite quickly and easily, right? So these libs can be in so many different places. I don't mind his idea to continue building a few extra and to keep Lambo pulled back. You can see Lambo adding that Roach Roar, so he's going to kind of play like Lingbane Roach here in the end. That's going to be his response to really seeing that this is continued mech play.
Yeah, Lambo is starting to just really take the map with that 5th base going on up. And it looks like, I mean, MarineLorD's had some pretty good scouting information because the combination of the Liberators and even the Hellions running into the main base have really gotten a scout on everything. Liberators move back in, manage to snipe off a bit of larva, kill off 2 drones, and keeps both of them alive at least. Look at that. Lambo just responding with 13 more drones being produced on the way. So, I mean, he is not going to be thwarted too much by losing a few drones here and there.
Yeah, his work count coming straight back up. It is scary, though, because every time you make drones, that's drones which maybe could have already been units, right?
Yeah. How many drones is too many drones, Wardy? I think right now he's set up to go to 92? 94?
He's still going. The thing is, it kind of works with this style because the idea is you want to trade, rebuild, trade again, and just keep on doing that, right? You want to kind of trade badly, but it works because you're going to trade into your opponent's economy as well. 90 plus is okay. I'm just a little worried about the immediate future. Like, I think 90 plus is fine if Lambo takes control of the game. But it feels like, in the next 20 supply, MarineLorD could unsiege and be like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm just going to waltz across the map and siege up. And then that's not when you want to have 90 drones, unless you're ready to greet the army halfway across the map already.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to credit and say that Cyril did try this sort of thing against Lambo, and it's a slightly different context as well. So I want to give some preface there and say that Cyril was in a very different position. I think he was already at that, both of these players were nearly at the maxed out point, and Cyril was just trying to really heavily over drone, build up a massive bank, and just played slightly less cost efficiently than MarineLorD, but was able to eventually just have way more bases and kind of out macro MarineLorD in the end. And that was in game 1 when MarineLorD was going mech. But I feel like this is a little bit different. The supplies are a lot closer. MarineLorD is probably going to have a slightly easier time establishing a 5th base if he's just being the only one being aggressive here.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like MarineLorD's in a position where getting to 5th base is definitely doable. Obviously, if Lambo's set up now to make it more difficult, right? He's splitting up, he's looking at 2 different directions, and he's able to do that because MarineLorD's also been, not super active on the map with anything, right? It has just been Hellion tank, it's not been Cyclone, so in fairness, what was he meant to do on the map with just Hellions? Not a lot. That's something to keep in mind. Interested that he actually takes this right side as the 5th base instead of the left side 5th, because I actually feel like that might be a bit easier to defend as long as the rocks are still up in the center. Throws of Bowels going in. We're going to see a fight here as Lambo just goes for this. Lots of Bowels to get rid of these libs, but of course they get a lot of damage done before they go down. And now these Ravagers still fighting towards the end. I would have expected them to back away already, because every Ravager, that's 100 gas going down per Ravager kill. And these Thors, they are 2-shotting them.
Yeah, and if that Thor manages to survive through all this, it'll definitely be worth it. But it does manage to finally get the pick off on that Thor. More reinforcements were coming in from Lambo, but he decides to redirect them to another base. Lings and Baneling's going to be run on in. There's a Siege Tank or 2 over here, but not a whole lot else. And the Siege Tank's not hitting the Banelings, they're hitting the Lings. The Baneling's going straight after that mineral line.
Well, this is what Lambo wants to do, right? He wants to get all over. He wants to pull his opponent's attention one way, then the other. Hit that economy, rebuild quickly. He's already remaxed, right? And we just saw him trading out moments ago. And that's the whole idea of these 90-plus workers, that you're able to rebuild in an instant. He's losing a few drones to some Liberator harassment, but he's denying the 5th base going up. And that's fine, 4 base used to be kind of the gold standard. Like, that's, good to be on as a mech terror. And it is. But, when you're talking about the Zerg being on base 7 building already, actually not even building, it's done, just waiting for drones. He's got 90 drones. He actually has too many bases for all those drones. So it's just crazy as we see Lambo really continue to push forward now until this base doesn't quite kill the CC.
Yeah, just a little bit too far north on those Corrosive Biles. But hey, Roach is going to be able to find these 2 Siege Tanks. And, well, the friendly Fire Splash Team is actually killing a few SCVs as well. But the Roaches do get picked off and 1 Siege Tank survives. But Lambo is still not done on this right-hand side. Has more Ravagers morphed in. Is maybe just looking for a different angle. But again, has denied that base that you were talking about. MarineLorD has not been able to establish that 5th base.
Yeah, honestly, I believe as long as Lambo just keeps doing this is his game, right? The scariest part is maybe when there's going to be one large attack when MarineLorD just says, you know what, I'm done. I'm sick of you counterattacking me. I'm just coming for you. Because you need to win that fight well enough that your reinforcements then clean up. But as long as that eventually happens, it's good. Lambo going in again. This time just really looking to try and hit the economy on this 3rd once more. He has got a few Banes that don't turn into the mineral line for a little while. He has denied one of the orbitals that was here. The other one's very low. He cancels the base as well. Not too many not too much SCV damage altogether though, right? 5 workers, so you're still going to keep mining here as MarineLorD. Those are the fights I don't like quite as much for Lambo. They feel unnecessary into a really entrenched position.
I'm definitely with you. I think the one catch I'll say is that what you brought up earlier is that the fear here is that MarineLorD would kind of have that moment where he says, all right, I'm fed up with this. And he hits that max out point. And then he's able to push across the map. With all of the armies just traded out again, I mean, that just means MarineLorD cannot really safely move out. I mean, what's he going to do? Move out with 5 Siege Tanks and 5 Thors? Like, I think you do want a bit more time to replenish that supply. And Lambo's maxed out again. Lambo has something to deal with that.
Well, here we go for another fight as the Banes and Lings are going to start running in. Ravagers up the top side, Banes from the right as well. So it's going to be splash damage from every single direction. These Banes this time will make the mineral line. They are going to get the SCVs they're looking for. 41 of them.